Before we get on to the ICE story, really quickly, I did see Bad Empanada dropped a new video on Contrapoints, and I kind of wanted to take a little peek.
Zionism is an innately genocidal, ethno-nationalist ideology. It aims to create an exclusive, ethnic Jewish society that gives special privileges to Jews in a place in which there already were, and still are, millions of non-Jews. This necessitates genocide, as the only way to achieve this goal is to get rid of a sufficient number of those who were there before to make Jews at least a majority, and thus make it possible to eliminate the previous society and replace it with this new one. This is textbook genocide in both intent and practice. It is thus innate to Zionism. And this is true whether they are a Zionist that wants all of Palestine, or they are a Zionist who is willing to settle for the so-called two-state solution, where they do this to only half of the land that they have usurped. Taking half of a land and as many of the previous inhabitants as you can from it, so that you can have an ethnic supremacist state there, is still genocide. That's why the Genocide Convention goes to pains to repeatedly specify that it is still genocide if it's done in part. Now you might be thinking, based on my description there, that, this sounds...
Also, like, is that not the obvious conclusion of, like, what laws around genocide would look like? Can you imagine if our laws around genocide or our international laws or standards around genocide was, well, after you kill everyone, then we'll tell you that you did a genocide, and not any attempt at all to prevent a genocide, that there shouldn't be some effort in stopping something from getting so bad that millions of people die? That if enough people in positions of power, and if enough government agencies or enough people holding government office with political power, Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, Yoav Gallant, show genuine intent to commit ethnic cleansing in part or by whole, shouldn't that always be the conclusion, because you're trying to save people's lives? If the only conclusion is, well, after they've already really shown that they're definitely doing a genocide because they've killed millions of people, then we'll act on it. Would that not be too late? Would that be a terrible standard?
Quite a bit like Nazism. After all, the Nazis wanted to kill or enslave everyone they did not consider to be a part of their ethnic in-group all across Eastern Europe, and build a sprawling Aryan society on the ruins of the societies that they genocided. And you'd be right, because these two ideologies are very similar at their core. The only reason that Zionism does not, and probably could not, rise to the scale of depravity that Nazism did is merely because its circumstances are very different. The Nazis were much more numerous, with much more territory and resources at their disposal, and they consider themselves to be beholden to no one. The Zionists know that this is not the case for them. They are smaller, weaker, totally dependent on international support to even exist, and are additionally now in a different time where moral standards have shifted. So they need to be much more careful with their rhetoric and with their actions, and make sure that their end goal, which is extremely similar to the Nazi end goal, is worked towards more discreetly. This is why liberal Zionism is a thing, but liberal Nazism wasn't. The Nazis had no need for such rhetorical strategies. The Zionists do. These are differences merely in practical circumstances, not goals. It just so happens that, more recently, the Zionists have been pushing the bounds of what they can get away with. And it's turned out that they can actually get away with doing far, far more than what they'd previously thought they could. I've talked about this 100 times over at this point, as have countless others. This is not anything novel anymore. And
if you guys could, anyone who's on desktop, or if you can on mobile, for the chatter who wrote, quote, Hitler was right. If you guys want to just report this account, he's had his account since 2012. It'd be really funny if he lost his account. After being on this platform for 13 years, it would be really funny if he lost his account for saying the most Nazi shit on the planet that he could possibly say. So yeah, feel free to just report it. It's like an easy for chat messages, hateful conduct, okay. Please feel free to report that account. All right.
You'd think that with the Gaza genocide,
that's crazy, Papaya,
to enter its second year, we wouldn't need to be touching on this again.
I can already see the LSF headline. Denims dogs his innocent chatter, pulls up his chat message, and after he said Nazi shit, reported him for it. What the hell? Gone already? Yeah, let's go. I've only ever had people report accounts twice. This is the second time. Listen, if you come in here and call me a whore or call me a slut, I don't really care. I really don't give a shit, whatever. You could say I hate you. You could say you're dumb. You can't say my cats are stupid. Then you will get permaban for sure. Twitch will see that shit and They'll put you in Twitch jail for that one. But like, you're going to type this shit in my chat. Be gone. Be gone, Nazi scum. Thank you, everybody, for reporting. Thank you.
As these facts about Zionism are more obvious than they ever have been before. And they were already pretty obvious.
All right.
Zionism are more obvious than they ever have been before. And they were already pretty obvious. Apparently not, though, because one of YouTube's biggest intellectuals seems to have avoided getting this memo. Contrapoints, who is one of the platform's most prominent purveyors of style over substance, has decided to release a statement complaining about people sharing the pleas of genocided Palestinians for assistance and to be heard. A bit too much, as she posits that this is potentially alienating to decent people. One must wonder how a Zionist can be a decent person, right? Given the inherently abhorrent character of the Zionist ideology. One must wonder what the problem is with alienating people who believe in ethnic supremacy and genocide. That seems like a good thing to do, actually. In her attempt to explain this, she falls flat, as you would expect, because she's trying to justify the unjustifiable. Her statement is the most generic liberal Zionist garbage I think I've ever seen. I, and probably many of you watching this, have already heard this crap a million times before, and it's so formulaic that I honestly have a tough time believing that it wasn't at least partly written by AI. She writes, "Many leftists feel betrayed because I haven't made a video on Palestine. Do they actually want a ContraPoints video about Palestine? Will they be happy if I get in the bath and pour milk on a mannequin of Benjamin Netanyahu? No. So firstly, I don't actually want you to make a video, and I think I speak for most people when I say that, because your videos are really
Fucking BadEmpanada.
bad, totally useless from a practical standpoint. The best way to describe them is nice gowns. And from everything we already knew about your opinion before you released this statement, we knew that it was terrible. Aside from that, you have actually made rushed out videos for individual issues before, like electing genocidal war criminal Joe Biden. So you feasibly could have made one. And its absence is just one more piece of evidence in the pile for how much you're totally unbothered by genocide. I don't think people are angry at you because you haven't made a video on this issue. They're angry because everything that you've said, including this very statement, indicates that you, at very best, don't care about it, and actually indicates quite strongly that in everything but your own meaningless claim that you don't support it, are actually, if anything, working to further it. And this is all after you spent a whole decade, actually more than that, posturing as a leftist influencer. I have posted about Gaza constantly. When you have, it's been to downplay it, or to like express...
Yeah, this was insane, by the way, that she tweeted this comment out. It was a thread where... I'll just read the whole thread. This person says, "I agree to never teaming up with far-right goons, but I have to ask, do you not see the US/the West as uniquely evil?" And Contrapoints responds saying, "Not as uniquely evil, no, but it is the current leader in the empire wars and has its moral upsides and downsides." Some other Twitter user says, "I'm not defending Russia in any way, but the US is a white settler colony that is currently bankrolling another country's ethnic cleansing. If that isn't uniquely evil in 2025, then I don't know what is." And Contrapoint responds saying, "Killing 60,000 people is probably the worst atrocity of the last 2 years, but in the scope of modern history, it is unfortunately far from unique." First of all, claiming the 60,000 number in 2025 is fucking insane. Like, it's actually insane. You've already lost the plot by even claiming that. First of all, current estimates are around 300 to 400,000 deaths. And surprise, surprise, it's hard to get a accurate count because, one, they don't know how many people are still stuck under the rubble, and people who are lost aren't counted as deaths because you have to identify them first. Second, it also doesn't count the number of people who have died not directly from Israeli airstrikes. So people who died because they lacked medical care, people who died because they couldn't get treatment for otherwise preventable or treatable or curable illnesses, like insulin, as an example, right? People who were in the middle of getting chemo and passed because of cancer, because guess what? All the hospitals got bombed. People who lack the nutrition because, they are literally starving because no food is entering, or very little food is entering Gaza. Dehydration. Like, this is, childbirth, or like children that otherwise would have been born into a hospital and been taken to, I forget the name of it, but like children who are sometimes born prematurely, or there might be complications that in a normal world, in a good world, an ICU, okay, is it natal ICU or is it neonatal ICU? You guys understand what I'm talking about. These wards are destroyed. They're gone. They don't exist anymore. So these children who otherwise would have survived and would have been fine. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of people in here who were born prematurely. Not me. I was a fat baby. I came out fat 11 pounds. I was a juicy baby. But maybe some other people in here born prematurely, or maybe some other people in here have had premature births, or you know someone who gave birth to like a child that was like 6 pounds, or that was underweight, or just again born prematurely. That if not for, yeah, I was a fat ass baby, dude. I was a fat baby. But anyways, I'm sure there's lots of people in here who either know someone or who was personally impacted by, premature births, who if not for modern medicine, if not for doctors, if not for medical care, if not for the NICU, those children might have passed. And these are like hundreds to thousands of children that otherwise should have been born. There shouldn't have been a problem because we have modern medicine. So like the numbers that we have right now, the number of deaths that we have right now, to calculate how many people have passed because of this genocide, they're not even accurate numbers because it doesn't include all the people who lost their medical care, their life-saving medical care. It doesn't count the number of people that they haven't found yet under the rubble. It doesn't count the number of people or like children who died after birth because they didn't have access to medical care. It doesn't count the number of people who died because they didn't have, what is it called? Antibiotics after an insane, I mean, like, I think some of us have all seen the videos of like the amputations that have occurred, and it's just soap and water. Like we're living in the fucking Middle Ages. No painkillers, no antibiotics, just doing your best. So again, the 60,000 number, besides it being so unbelievably inaccurate and like impossible to believe, literally fucking impossible to believe, given how many people have lost access to normal things they would have had before, the death count because of Israel's action is way fucking higher. So to quote the 60,000 number and be like, oh, it is a bad atrocity, yeah, but like, it's not that unique. It's like, what the fuck? How do you not think that this is one of the most unique atrocities that has occurred in the 21st century? What the fuck? Like, what are you smoking?
Annoyance at the fact that people want you to talk about it, or to tell people to vote for the very people who are doing the genocide. And in your downplaying of it, you also did some subtle denial of the actual death toll by not even acknowledging how much of a gross underestimate the official death toll is. So you're just a liar, and have quietly given money to Palestinian aid organizations. But I think what leftists really want is for me to join their chorus of anger. They sense some hesitation on my part and are judging me very harshly on my presumed opinions. I'd rather be judged on my actual opinions. So here they are. Chorus of anger. What the fuck does that mean? Is it supposed to be negative? What's wrong with being angry about genocide? That you would mention this speaks volumes in and of itself. Now let's get down to the actual statement rather than just the intro, okay? This is even worse than anything she's previously said online about the issue, by the way. Is Israel committing genocide in Gaza? Yes. Do I oppose it? Yes. Do I feel angry about it? Yes. I also feel a lot of other things. Okay, so Israel's committing genocide in Gaza. You oppose it and you apparently feel angry about it. You know, your country is assisting its regional proxy in carrying out the crime of crimes, the erasure of an entire people. Yet you won't make a video about it, and the best that you were able to do before this was a dismissive statement on Twitter every 2 months. Amazing. The rest of this statement makes it very clear that, if anything, she supports the genocide. The thing that her and others like her are doing now is saying, oh, it's a genocide, and of course I'm against it. And then going on to do everything possible to legitimize, normalize, and cover for the ideology and the state that is carrying it out. Doom. The week after October 7th, it was clear the mood among Israeli leaders and civilians was overwhelmingly kill or be killed, existential panic, and unstoppable lust for revenge. It reminded me of the US after 9/11. There was no reasoning or protesting them out of it. Actually, no, that's just what Israel is. It is an eliminationist, exclusionary, ethno-supremacist project. Blaming October 7th for Israelis doing what Israelis have always been doing or trying to do beforehand, just less intensely, just indicates a level of ignorance or intentional whitewashing that is on another level. This is not the result of a sudden, uncontrollable, irrational fear for revenge or a sudden fury in Israeli society. It is the result of the core of Zionist ideology. It's the only logical conclusion of it. As many Jews as possible, as few Palestinians as possible. They saw an opportunity to put that tenet into action at a faster speed than they were able to do before, and they took it. The idea that this is a sudden bloodlust rather than innate to their project is comical. What do you even think Gaza is in the first place? The very origin of Gaza is that it is a concentration camp where the survivors of the 1948 Nakba were mostly expelled to, one that they have variously periodically attacked, occupied, colonized, and blockaded endlessly the entire time since. It is designed entirely by Israel, intentionally, as a temporary holding place before they can manufacture the consent that they need to entirely eliminate or expel the Palestinians there. We are 2 years into this, and you still don't know this? You've learned nothing of the basics? Nor was it politically feasible for the US to withdraw aid to Israel on a time frame that would make a difference. It would have required replacing most of Congress and overturning decades of bipartisan strategy and diplomacy. Even in the best case scenario, it would have taken years. It's funny that her excuse for not only her total inaction, but her outright advocacy for the government carrying out the genocide, that is the previous Joe Biden government, is that taking action was not going to secure votes in Congress to vote on a boycott of Israel. No shit. Whoa, what a revelation. Shit, I totally thought the US Congress was going to vote to boycott Israel, Natalie. That's definitely what we all were hoping for. That's definitely what we were aiming for. No, it's not. That's why it's on you, it's on me, it's on everyone to pressure these motherfuckers and make them feel the pinch to the point that they either do something or face consequences for not.
And the thing is, like, you can apply this to literally any other social justice issue, and you'll realize how fucking stupid the argument is that she makes. Like, arguing that, oh, well, it just feels like you guys want to be mad, and you don't really have an outlet. So, like, I just kind of, like, don't agree. I just, like, don't really agree with that, you know? Can you imagine Contrapoints making a statement about that with regard to, like, trans rights? And being like, you know, it just feels like you guys are really upset and you're protesting and, you know, you're posting all these videos about how trans people are being, you know, disparaged. And it just kind of like, it just seems like you guys want people to be mad and you're not actually doing anything. So, yeah, I just disagree. What?
Doing it, you know, Ronald Reagan, for example, picked up the phone and told the Israeli Prime Minister, stop bombing Lebanon. And he fucking stopped.
Also, yeah, she's fucking stupid if she thinks that protest and public outrage haven't moved the needle. They absolutely have. They 100% they have. The tweet that I showed yesterday, I think, is like the perfect tweet. Hold up. Let me see if I can find it. She used to have at one point this view of envy. She was annoyed that she had to use they, them pronouns. I can almost understand her having that perspective there. Because it's like, oh, it's just a word. Like, oh, who cares that they're not using this one? Like, just deal with it, whatever. Genocide. Genocide. We're getting too mad about genocide. Do you hear what you're fucking saying? Like, genuinely, just for 2 seconds, can you listen to the sentence that you said? That we're getting too mad without enough of a righteous cause, or a righteous outlet about genocide. What?
The US president can just do that. Israel is a dependent proxy. You can pressure them into doing that with enough action, but there wasn't enough action. That's the problem. Part of the reason why we couldn't do that is because of people like you who did nothing, who advocated for nothing. In fact, what did you do? You advocated against even trying to put any pressure on the genociders at the ballot box. You explained to everyone how they should vote blue no matter who. Vote for the genociders no matter who. No pressure, no demands, no expectations. Just vote for them and fucking pray. You've spent 10 fucking years making videos about the heckin' epic catgirl anarchists, and the best that you could think of here was, well, looks like most people in Congress support Israel. I'm tapping out immediately. No! Bullshit! What you meant to say here is, I don't want things to change, but I'm afraid to admit that. It would ruin my career, it would ruin this entire image that I've concocted for myself. It would ruin my income stream. So I'm instead going to pretend that there was never a point in even trying, and that's why I didn't even try to encourage others to try, let alone try myself. So there was a sense of futility, but worse, misery. The leftist pro-Palestine movement quickly decided that their primary goal was not merely opposition to the genocide, but opposition to Zionism in general. That is, opposition to the existence of Israel as a Jewish state. And here they decided to draw the line separating decent people from genocidal fascists. It shrunk the coalition, I can't believe they not only oppose the genocide, but also the cause of the genocide, the thing that's doing the genocide, the people who are doing the genocide, Zionism and Zionists. Unbelievable, right? It's like being against the Holocaust and also Nazism. How could they possibly do that? You fucking moron! Do you mean to say that you are not entirely against the unacceptable, genocidal, ethno-nationalist ideology that Zionism is? The very perpetrator of this genocide that you claim to be against, that you claim makes you angry? Turns out you aren't actually against Nazism or ethnic supremacy at all. You think it's fine when it's Jews doing it. She clearly implies that she thinks that Zionists can be decent people. Not just decent people, but people who leftists should form coalitions with. So what kind of a statement is that exactly? Can Nazis be decent people? If you don't think that, then it makes absolutely no sense to think it for Zionists. Unless you consider Jews to be a special, magical group of people who get to have special, innate ethnic rights that other inferior human types don't. Zionist is a very broad category. Most Jews are Zionists. Who gives a fuck if most Jews are Zionists, Natalie? Most Germans were Nazis.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why she put that in there. The most Jews are Zionist thing. Like, oh, you're part of a minority, an ethnic or a religious minority. Oh, well, then genocide is okay for you to do. Yeah, why didn't you just tell me that? Then it's fine, obviously.
Does that change anything about the equation for you? Do you think ethnic groups get to vote amongst themselves at whether or not they get to have their own little ethno-state at another people's expense? There is no valid reason for you to mention this unless you think that Jews do. This is pure Jewish exceptionalism. I have made a longer video on this where I explain this concept with specific examples in much more detail than I'm going to be able to go into here. So please, go and watch that if you want to actually learn something, rather than just see me shit on this idiot. Anyone who supports a two-state solution is a Zionist. It was politically infeasible. How the fuck did you just invoke the two-state solution as some sort of acceptable and achievable goal, and then immediately call other people's aims, goals, and political beliefs infeasible? The two-state solution has never been a thing. It has never been seriously on the table at all. It is a rhetorical tool, a means of control of the US and Israel, which they harp on so that they can frame the Palestinians themselves as the barrier to peace when they inevitably reject the US and Israeli offers to graciously allow Palestinians to have a tiny Bantustan with no actual sovereignty in exchange for them giving up all of their rights to their stolen property, to their stolen land, to their stolen country, to even having equal rights as human beings. To call other people's goal of ending genocide politically infeasible because they do not want to ally with people who adhere to a genocidal ideology which is presently doing genocide, and also invoke the two-state solution as your example of feasible and acceptable. What the fuck are you talking about? It seems that when you try to deal with actual real-world problems of actual importance, the total lack of substance to your usually entirely abstract wankery is laid bare. You have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. This is Ethan Klein level analysis, and that's why Ethan Klein himself has been sharing this gleefully. What is the pathway that takes us from the present situation to the dissolution of Israel as a Jewish state? I don't see how this could happen without either a total internal collapse of Israeli society or else, nuclear war. As usual, leftists have championed a doomed cause. Your own idea of the only possible viable pathway is waiting for the US Congress to vote for it to happen. I don't think you have any right to pose questions like this, as if they are unanswerable, when you have literally never even tried to answer them yourself, and you have in fact actively insulated yourself from any sort of engagement with the people who do have answers to them. Like me, I've invited you to talk to me live. You have ignored it. Many others have done the same. I know creators much bigger than me have invited you to talk about these things. You never allow yourself to be exposed to any scrutiny. You act like just because you can't think of it, that's the end of the discussion. And you act like just because seriously worthy political goals, achieving actual real change that greatly benefits human beings, takes time, effort, and sacrifice, they should not at all be pursued. If you had your way, South Africa would still be under apartheid. I mean, after all, back in the 1960s, it looked like the whites would rather burn everything down than give it up.
Also, like, this is the major problem with, or this is one of the major reasons why I feel like everyone was shitting on Contrapoints. The idea of even just, there are so many things in that statement that she made that if you apply that logic to literally any other attempt at justice or social justice or political reform in any shape, way, or form, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Saying like, well, it would have taken years to do this. Guess what? They've said that about literally everything. Oppressors have said and made this argument about literally everything for the past forever. That's what bigots have said about trans people and gay people and women and black people and brown people. Like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Like, effectively, that statement of hers just reiterates all of the arguments that Zionists have used in the past, I would say, couple of years, but even decades, honestly, to justify why they feel the way that they do. Also, I think Jessica linked this. Wait, please tell me you've seen the Matt Lieb clip. I haven't seen this one. It says, I can no longer remain silent. Israel's committing a genocide, and it's the online left's fault. Oh, no.
All right, for 20 months, you've been asking me the same questions. Hey, what are your thoughts on Palestine? What do you think about the whole Palestine thing? Hey, you've been making content about politics and social justice for a decade, but are weirdly silent about Palestine. What do you think about it? It's a genocide.
Shit.
Also, Vampirina, thank you for the 10 gift subs. Let's go. Thank you for the 10. Big 10. My lawyer can't do shit.
Okay? Are you happy? I've known it's a genocide, and I've always been against it. Well, hey, how come you haven't said anything about it? I have. I've been writing about it every day in my diary. Yes, I haven't said anything publicly.
Or like I did see a Caroline tweet that was also brought up a really good point. Oh, if you've always thought it's a genocide and you've always thought it was really bad, then why haven't you commented at all just to say that you thought it was a genocide? That you have a lot of complicated opinions on the topic, but for right now you just want to condemn the genocide. No, you wanted to wait until it was safe to call it that.
For 20 months about it. Because why? Because what good would it do? It doesn't do anything. All it does is let you know that I'm against genocide, which is the exact question that you've been asking me. But I was absolutely going to say something. I was going to say something publicly about it. But then I started to think, and I was like, just be honest. There's nothing I could have said. There's nothing I could have posted that would have made the pro-Palestine crowd happy. Okay? You know it's true. If I had said, yes, Israel's doing a genocide 20 months ago, I would have been attacked so hard. Do you remember 20 months ago? Anyone who said that this was a genocide was viciously smeared by the online left. Thinking that Israel was committing ethnic cleansing could get you fired from your job by mobs of angry Hassan Piker fans. Students who were shouting ceasefire now were being expelled from school thanks to shadowy organizations like Democracy Now!, the War and Peace Report. People were being deplatformed on Instagram for saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They were being censored by the oligarchs at the Chapo Trap House. It happened to me. It happened to me early on. I voiced nations like Democracy Now!, the War and Peace Report. People were being deplatformed on Instagram for saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. They were being censored by the oligarchs at the Chapo Trap House. It happened to me. It happened to me early on. I voiced my full-throated support of the Palestinian people by tweeting, from the Arab to the Jew, I'll vote blue no matter who.
The Arab to the Jew, all vote blue no matter. No, Matt Lieb, stop.
And guess
Remember that time that Ethan Klein made fun of Matt Lieb and the best joke he could come up with was, I guess he's leaving. He's leaving. You get it? Like leaving. Like Matt leaving. Dies of cringe. Dies.
Guess what? I was immediately canceled by the left. Like someone would be labeled a Zionist for slightly deviating from the leftist talking points. Like if they said like, yes, Israel is committing a genocide and there's nothing we can do about it. Have you seen any good movies lately? Immediately people are like, oh, you're a Zionist. People are falsely misconstruing my silence as either like tacit support of genocide or as cowardice. And you know what? It's neither. I haven't been silent. I've been quietly studying the left, and I realized that they were doing it wrong. Palestinians are being killed every day because the online left keeps showing images of Palestinians being killed every day. If people had followed my lead, there would be far fewer Palestinians who were dying that we were aware of.
Oh, God.
We'd have peace and quiet. At the very least, we'd have quiet. And that's...
My God. Dude, I can't show murder on stream. What the fuck? Stop. You can't just kill someone on camera, man. Matt Lieb, you can't just murder Contrapoints in 4K. You can't do that. Oh my God.
half of what we want. But the left always makes the perfect, the enemy of the good. They cannot compromise even a little. So no, I will not be making any content about the genocide, okay? It's too divisive, it's too intractable, and it's literally impossible to do it in an entertaining way. All right,
Holy
for 20
shit,
months.
dude, that is a crazy video. That's actually like he nailed it. Oh my God. Holy shit, dude. I'm very upset at myself that it took me this long to realize what he was saying was satire. Okay, like, if you don't know who Matt Lieb is, I can't even blame you for not knowing that he was being satirical because, like, I'm not gonna lie, the pro-genocide Zionist freaks talk exactly like this and they have no idea that what they're saying is insane. Like, they actually do talk like this. That lady who, I wish I had the clip for it. I meant to show it on stream many moons ago and then I forgot and I lost it. But there was this video that was trending on Twitter of this lady who was like, I don't get it. Every other country got to do colonization, but when the Jews do it, it's not okay. When the country of Israel does a little bit of genocide, we're not allowed to do that. I don't get it. It just doesn't, like, why? This feels anti-Semitic to me. It's like, wait. Okay. It was actually never okay. Colonizing and genociding was actually never okay. It was never, ever, actually, ever okay. Actually. Yeah, I know. That's crazy. And also, it doesn't matter how many bad things happened before. We shouldn't let them continue to happen. We should try our best to prevent bad things from happening in the future, actually. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Crazy. I don't know if you guys know the clip that I'm talking about, but man, it was, read Frankenstein. Mary Shelley literally writes how sad it is that Americans are doing genocide. Yeah. This is the one. I remember because this woman's face is so shiny. I don't know what moisturizer she's using, but dude, it's like, bro, she looks like she got that shit like waxed. Like, not like hair removal waxing, but like floor waxing. Like, it's shiny. She got a dome on her. Mao, thank you, by the way, so much for the 5 gift subs. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, what clip? It sounds crazy, this one.
I don't care if you believe that Palestinians are indigenous to the land of Palestine. That does not mean they get to have their own country within the current country.
No, but like, actually, look at how shiny her dome is. Does that shit not look like waxed and buffed? A couple coats? Does it not? It's totally unrelated to the video at all, but like, she went to the auto shop, dude. Yeah. She's like, you know what? I need my own Iron Dome. I need it. Meh. Barber, make me look like a bowling ball. Yeah, give me the polish. Give me that good polish. Make me look like Mr. Clean. Okay, sorry. Enough jokes. Sorry.
I don't care if you
call me Chrome Dome. You know, my living room floor is nowhere near that shiny. I know, right? Isn't it crazy? All right, sorry. Okay. Return to the video. Also, replace Palestinians with Native Americans here. Let's watch.
I don't care if you believe that Palestinians are indigenous to the land of Palestine. That does not mean they get to have their own country within the current country of Israel. Let me explain.
Huh?
Almost every single country in the world was conquered.
All right. I don't think you're going down the right path here, argumentatively speaking, but continue.
Canada was colonized by the French and British. The land was taken from the native Inuits and Métis. In no way, shape, or form are the Inuits allowed to create their own country within Canada because they were indigenous.
This is my boldest take. I mean, it's really not that bold. It's really quite lukewarm of a take. Sorry, I know this is a really lukewarm take if you're not like a genocidal maniac. But I think, listen, my knowledge on Canada is not as good as my knowledge on the US. I do know that Canada's mistreated the fuck out of their indigenous people, but I want to comment more specifically on America because I obviously learned more about it, know more about it. I think, personally, that one of the worst things that we are currently doing, not the worst things that the United States or the colonizers of the United States have done, but the worst thing that is ongoing right now, besides destroying all of the reservations, besides like the pipelines, besides the pollution, besides all that stuff, one of the easiest things to remedy that gives us absolutely nothing, it costs absolutely nothing to get rid of or like to lose, would be destroying the fucking Mount Rushmore. I'm sorry, like it's actually learning that like Mount Rushmore was built on important land for the indigenous people it's not quite holy, but it's like a spiritual location for the indigenous people. And we carved these ugly fuckers into this fucking mountain that it's just like this racist monument to us killing millions of people. I know this might be extreme, but I think it should be given back. And I think if they want to blow it up, they should be able to blow it up, actually. We have enough photos of it. We have more than enough photos of it. We should give it back. It's an abomination. I thought you meant preserve the presidents. No. I'm saying we should give it to the indigenous community, and if they want to blow it up, they should blow it up. I think they should. More seriously, there is a lot of spiritual land that used to belong to... I mean, belong here is doing a lot of work because you're looking at like land in a colonizer way, in an imperialist way, and land doesn't belong to people, but I'm not going to get too deep into it. Every bit of spiritual land that ever belonged to the current indigenous people or to their ancestors should be given back immediately. We already have policies in place for when we want to build highways or freeways or trains or whatever, right? You pay whatever person who lives there, you pay them a fair amount, market value for whatever their property is, and then we reuse this land for something better, right? I don't know how I'm forgetting the name of it. I keep having manifest destiny in my brain, which is the wrong statement. But there's a term for it, and I'm like, eminent domain, thank you. We already have policy for it. We already have rules around this. My hottest, not so hot take is that, I'm sorry, indigenous people should be given whatever land they want. I think it's really the least that we can do. We have so much land in the United States, it's obscene. Like, it's actually obscene. And especially if the land is in like areas that aren't even populated. Because there are areas in the United States that like we've deemed, like Mount Rushmore, where there aren't even people living there. Why the fuck do we own it? It shouldn't even belong to us. It would literally, we should just get, like, it literally doesn't belong to us. It's well overdue. They're well overdue reparations and equal treatment by the law. So actually, you genocidal maniac, whatever this woman's name is, no, we don't agree with you. Actually, no, I think that indigenous people in the United States, in Canada, wherever, should be allowed to get their land back. And we already have policies for how to reimburse people who are currently living there who had nothing to do with whether or not colonizers came to the United States whenever they did. I don't think it's I think it is the fair thing to try and remedy the genocide that occurred against the indigenous people here. I know, crazy. Also, yeah, North America is one of the least populated spaces versus other parts of the world. Yeah, listen, if the indigenous people want to have Mount Rushmore and they just put like a little mustache on them and little like devil horns, that's fine with me too. I think they should be allowed to deface Mount Rushmore if they want to deface it. I think that is fair. I think that is a small price to pay. Also, those dudes really weren't that great, okay? Sorry, but it's literally, they weren't that great. Some of them were even bad. Anywho, all right.
Australia was colonized
Mount Rushmore covered in graffiti would actually go hard. It would go crazy. Okay.
by the British, and the land was taken from the indigenous Aboriginals. Are they allowed to have their own country within Australia? Southern Australia is now going to be a new country because they were indigenous. No, that is not the way the world works. In 1948, the Jews fought a war against the Arabs and Palestinians on the land. The Jews won that war.
Me when I decide your shit belongs to me. I like that we're rewriting the Nakba as a war. Is she listing all the terrible genocides and using that as an excuse to say her genocide is also good? Was she saying, well, it's the unfortunate reality that sometimes genocide happens and whoever wins gets to keep the land? And it's only fair that if all the other countries got to do it, we should get to do it too.
I don't care that we were indigenous. I don't care that Palestinians were indigenous. It is our...
Changed the locks, so now it's permanently mine.
Also state the obvious that indigenous people in other countries have citizenship and a vote.
Our land. It is now a country. No other country in the world is expected to separate part of their country and give it to the indigenous people. No, but somehow that argument makes sense for all of you morons. It doesn't make sense for the US. It doesn't make sense for Mexico. It doesn't make sense for Canada. It doesn't make sense for Australia. And it definitely doesn't make sense for Israel. It's unbelievable how much Jew hatred blinds people into demanding things of Israel.
It's almost like it was never about Israel or Jews.
The mullet rolls are gone,
The
people.
mullet rolls are gone. They're Countrymen, you have the best fucking timing. Everybody fucking take notes. Take notes. I went to gift, okay? Take notes. Comedic geniuses over here, okay? Learn. Listen and learn. A funny chatter is speaking, okay? Gotcha, man. Thank you for the 20. The marbles are gone, people. It actually never was about whether or not the people in Israel are Israeli or they're Jewish or they're... I don't really give a fuck. Colonization has always been bad. Genocide has always been bad. I've never given a fuck who's doing it. I've never given a fuck who's the people, which people are being oppressed and which people are the oppressors. I think, actually, crazy, but most people on the left would agree. It's always bad. It always was bad. And we still should today try and remedy this issue even a little. Even a little.
Okay, so by her logic, if Hamas did take over Israel, she would okay with that? Would that make sense to her?
Denims is streaming.
Denims is streaming. I am. ZPD, thank you for the 5 gift subs. Thank you. You think she has the same opinions about squatters? I mean, it's a nonsensical opinion. This idea that, like, might makes right, that, like, if enough years ago you destroyed and conquered this land, you just get to have it forever. Forever and ever and ever, and no one should ever try and remedy it, ever. Her hairline is colonizing her head, so her head is colonizing her hairline, dude, okay? Wait till she finds out about the Northern, the Republic of Ireland. God.
Israel that they would never demand of another country.
Literally not true. I've been saying this from day one, why the global north can't stand up for Palestinians if they acknowledge Israel has unethically occupied Palestinian land, then all indigenous people in the global north will ask for their land back too. She said the quiet part out loud. Did you see the new Eve Fartlow tweet? No, question mark. I don't even know who this is. Oh, is this the free parking person? That's funny. Dude, this is still like an iconic tweet. Iconic, not necessarily in a good way, but my Jewish friend saw a sign that said free parking and panicked that it said free Palestine. The Jews are tired. That's a crazy tweet, by the way. That is actually like top 10 craziest tweets of all time. Anyways. Okay, sorry. What I was trying to say was all of that, me showing this clip, the only purpose for showing this clip. Well,
if you want a bit of a palate cleanser, there's a bunch of Denims pointing memes in the sub chat.
Oh, Aquatus, thank you. I'll take a look in a sec. I looked up Eve Farlow and Google corrected it to Eve Fartlow. No. Okay, sorry. What the fuck were we talking about? What was it? Shh. Chat, I'm thinking. Oh yeah, right. I don't blame anyone who's never heard of Matt Lieb before. Watching this and thinking that it was like an insane, like pro-genocide freak, because there are a lot of insane pro-genocidal freaks that like, you think, come on, this has to be satire. Come on. This has to be satire. This has to be. And then you realize none of it is satire. Like this video should be a satirical video. Like it's insane. It's like actually crazy. So I really don't blame people for watching this and not knowing who Matt Lieb is and not knowing that this is his bread and butter, and it's been his bread and butter since like 2023, where he's like made videos making fun of like pro-Israel, pro-genocide rhetoric. Again, since day one. But one sec. This is her recent tweet. Zionism is the civil rights movement for Jews. Get over it. It's tough. It is tough. Tough stuff, dude. Tough stuff. All right. Let's try and finish this Bad Empanada video.
It took decades and decades and decades of work, sacrifice, fight to end it. And Natalie Wynn would tell you that they shouldn't have ever gotten started, actually. It was a doomed cause. Best to instead normalize and legitimize ethno-nationalist settler colonial genocide. Allow it to solidify itself until the point that it becomes truly impossible to topple, so that it can garner the support that it needs to fully eliminate the Palestinians. Give the genociders what they want. That is Natalie Wynn's message. But look, this isn't actually her message, is it? She doesn't really believe what she's saying here. I see through this immediately. You should see through this shit instantly as well. This is liberal Zionism par excellence. It's being too much of a coward to admit what you really believe, because it's too socially unacceptable to do so. What she really thinks is that having a Jewish ethno-state in Palestine is totally acceptable. She supports it. That's why she's trying to normalize its existence here, slyly pretending that it is a strategic disagreement, that she's only against anti-Zionism because it's practically infeasible, rather than her actually just being totally fine with it. That's why she let it slip that she thinks Zionists can be decent people. She fundamentally believes in Jewish supremacism. She thinks that Jews should have special ethnic rights to do things that would usually be impermissible, like form settler colonial ethno-states.
I mean, her statement literally says, like, it's not fair to say that, like, being a Zionist is bad. Because, like, some people are Zionists. Not me, of course, but, like, some people are, and you know, you shouldn't say things that are mean to people who are Zionists, because you never know who could be one. who could be someone who wants everyone to just stop complaining so much about the genocide, you know, and just like, did you think about that? My mom said it's my turn to have an ethno-state.
Expense of everyone else there. It introduced dangerous ambiguities. The vagueness of Zionism as a political Satan enables all kinds of rhetorical abuses. On the one hand, right-wing Israelis hold up all anti-Zionist protests as existentially threatening and inherently anti-Semitic. Who gives a fuck what Zionists say? They're genocidal ethno-nationalists. Of course they're going to say insane stuff about those who oppose them. The Nazis said that any Jewish resistance to them was proof of the Jewish anti-German conspiracy. Proof that Jews wanted to wipe out Germans, actually. Did that delegitimize Jewish resistance for you? What the fuck kind of talking points are these? The very fact that you see these things as not comparable, as different, just because of which ethnic group we're talking about, proves that you're a Jewish supremacist. On the other hand, there is a long history of anti-Semites using the term Zionists in deliberately equivocal ways. Zog, etc. Anti-Semites are happy for the opportunity to misappropriate the now popular anti-Zionist label to legitimize their agenda, and many people are not informed enough about anti-Semitism to recognize when this is happening. These problems are mutually reinforcing. Wow, so Contrapoints is very concerned with anti-Semitic words, isn't she? More concerned than she is with dead Palestinian babies. You know, real...
Which, like, by the way, this is the core of the issue. Like, there was one thing that I saw Mike talking about.
Genocide.
Where, like, it's insane to have this take, in the way that she's having this take, about genocide.
In Gaza, yes. Do I opinions? Me very harshly on my presumed opinions. I'd rather be judged on my actual opinions. So here they are. Is Israel committing a genocide in Gaza? Yes. Do I oppose it? Yes. Do I feel angry about it? Yes. I also feel a lot of other things. Okay. Number one, genocide is the most serious crime that can be committed. There is no crime more serious than genocide. So if Israel is committing, by the way, Israel isn't committing genocide. The United States of America is committing this genocide. We pay 70% of the cost of the weapons.
And like, maybe if Contrapoints was British or something, or Canadian, is she Canadian? Or maybe if all the people complaining about it were not American, it would make sense. No, she's from Virginia. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like 99% sure she's American. It might make sense what she's talking about. That's like, well, you guys are complaining, but you don't even have like a mechanism of like change. But it's like, dude, we're literally the country that's funding the genocide. There is no group that should be protesting more than Americans, because we're the ones that are funding it. The whole purpose of our outrage should be to get real change and to get real progress. And I don't know, stop giving Israel weapons of war. Stop giving them all of the funding that they need. Stop letting them just do whatever the fuck they want.
Iron Dome, the F-15s. U.S. provides 70% of Israel's war costs. This isn't Israel doing a genocide. This is the United States. This is from last October. A report by Brown University's Watson Institute reveals that since the beginning of the war, the U.S. has spent more than $22 billion on military aid to Israel. From weapons and equipment to the deployment of aircraft carriers, Israel receives more U.S. military aid than any other country and is uniquely able to use that funding to spend on domestic goods. And that was back in October. It is almost it's been 9 months since then. So it isn't Israel doing the genocide. It is Israel and the United States doing the genocide. That's where the anger comes from, is our government is using our taxpayer dollars to pay for it, while hundreds of thousands of Americans live out on the streets, while millions of Americans die because they don't have health care, where millions of people are drowning in credit card debt, in student loan debt, and who are never going to be able to afford their own home. Millions of people who are delaying having the family of their dreams because they can't afford childcare. Our money is going overseas to fund a fucking genocide. So yeah, I'm pissed. One.
Can you imagine just being like, what? I just feel like you guys are like really mad about this and you're not really channeling that in the most productive way, which is, in my opinion, a little problematic. It's crazy. That is a crazy thing to say.
5 dead babies? Okay, whatever. Now, people on Twitter saying Zog. That's serious. That is what concerns her. I'm going to say something here that's entirely true, but it's going to make you squirm anyway. Jews are not being massacred for being Jews. Jews are not being raped for being Jews. Jews are not being expelled for being Jews.
Oh, here, 1 second. Sorry, Chad. If you guys want to Like, follow, subscribe, and all that.
No one is holding protests advocating for their right to rape Jews. However, you know what is actually happening right now in the real world? Not just mean words on Twitter. It's happening right here, in this place. Jews are massacring other people for not being Jews. Jews are raping other people for not being Jews. Jews are expelling other people for not being Jews. Jews are protesting for their right to rape non-Jews. This is the actual reality of the situation right now in Palestine. Why the fuck are you talking about anti-Semitism on the internet given this? 1 million anti-Semitic posts on Twitter are not equal to even one dead Palestinian, Natalie. But for you, actually, those posts are clips, not just that one dead Palestinian, but the hundreds of thousands of them who have been murdered by Jewish supremacists for not being Jewish. To even mention anti-Semitism in the context of Israel-Palestine, which is a situation where an overt and proud Jewish supremacist settler colonial project is working to eliminate an entire other people because they are not Jewish, is and can only ever be a tactic to legitimize said Jewish supremacist colonial project. If someone was complaining about anti-German sentiment during the Holocaust, while simultaneously lamenting that decent Nazis were being alienated by those who, as you're going to see Natalie say in a little bit, share too many photos of the horrors of the genocide of the Jews, there would only be one valid descriptor for that person: Nazi. And there is only one valid descriptor for Natalie Wynn, who is doing precisely that here with the Holocaust of our time: Nazi. And many people are not informed enough about anti-Semitism to recognize when this is happening. These problems are mutually reinforcing. These problems are also not even remotely on the same level of seriousness. So for you to even bring this up is extremely telling as to where your priorities are. They certainly don't seem to be with the massacred Palestinian babies. Dread. The online left has spent the last 20 months distributing hundreds of photos and videos of dead Palestinian children. The main effect of this has been to create a population of people in a constant state of blood-boiling rage with no consequential political outlet. What the hell do you even say to that part? She is complaining that we are spreading the evidence, testimonies, and final pleas for help of a people being genocided. The fact that we are sharing these people crying out for help with their last dying breaths is for her an inconvenience to complain about. She cares less about what these images depict than how this might cause people to become
Also, like, what a crazy self-report, by the way, that you see, like, dead children and you're like, you're doing this to sympathy farm and to make me all mad and riled up. And that's it. It's like, no, I'm doing this so that it's documented so people see what's happening so they don't continue to say that it's not happening. And it's a lot harder to say, well, maybe Hamas shouldn't have, like, attacked on October 7th once you've seen footage of, like, the children that are suffering that had nothing to do with this conflict. And it's not just one video, it's not just two videos, it's like hundreds of videos, thousands of videos. Someone linked this. Just realized Contrapoints did the Tim Dillon bit to a T. I had to stop following a trans journalist who swiftly, she said she doesn't deserve this hate because she's trans. Incredible. That's insane. I'm just gonna pretend like I don't know that.
When I see a child being killed, the first thing I do is step back and take a moment. I take a moment and I think about history, and I think about the layers and the complexity, the ins and the outs, and that's what I do. Miss Rachel, this dumb bitch, by the way, she sees a kid being killed and is like, stop it, stop killing that kid. And I'm like, wait a minute, why don't you read a book?
Obviously, Chad, this is satire.
How about some study? When I see a kid being killed, I immediately open a book and I begin to read the book, and I'll find the answer. I don't know where, chapter 3, maybe chapter 12, but I will keep reading the book. I do a lot of this when I see a kid being killed. I do a lot of this. I do a lot of interesting. What is happening? What is this?
No comment. Nothing to say. No comment. Nothing to say.
Anti-Semitic. There is this scene from the TV show Andor, which I'm ashamed to have watched. It is a Star Wars show, and that is deeply embarrassing, where a genocide is depicted, and as the people are being genocided, they put out a final radio message pleading for help. What you're seeing happening in Gaza right now is that radio message. Every single day for what she said was 20 months here. Those videos, those posts on social media by the Palestinian people, collectively, those amount to their final plea. Contrapoints hears that plea, and she wants to change the channel. Actually, even worse, she thinks about how that plea might cause anti-imperial sentiment. What else is there to say? I fear this may be worse than useless. Anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism are conceptually not the same, but in practice, the way Israel is perceived does seep out into attitudes towards Jews in general. I don't think Jews who feel isolated and wary in the current...
And like the crazy thing is, she could have very easily just said like, I don't feel like there is a lighthearted way that I could talk about Palestine, or that there is a meaningful discussion that I could have besides pointing out that genocide is bad, right? Because all of her other videos have had like some back and forth on like explanations of what the opposing side believes, right? To try and reach those people. Most notably, like a lot of her incel videos and like Jordan Peterson videos were really good because they reached out to people who felt isolated, who felt like they didn't have anyone else in their corner, who felt like anytime they tried to talk about their issues, that they were told to just, like suck it up or whatever. So she made a lot of really good videos at that time, really reaching out to those people who were dealing with, what I would say is like the consequences of late stage capitalism, less walkable cities, individualist mindsets, bootstrap mindset, like just American culture in general. And they were wrongfully attributing that to women, but neither here nor there. You can reach out to those people and tell them like, yeah, your concerns are heard and like your struggles are real. But unfortunately, that doesn't mean that you can blame all your issues on this person, this person, this group, and this group, and this group. Contrapoints could have easily said, yeah, the reason I haven't made a video on this is because my usual format doesn't work for this because the people who are pro-genocide are crazy. I don't know how to convince those people that they should be against genocide. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to enact change in a way that's meaningful. So I haven't made a video. And I think a lot of people would have defended her. I think if Contrapoints tweeted that out and said like, I'm sorry, I haven't made a video, I've tried, and I haven't been able to find an entertaining way to reach those people. So I haven't made one. I came up with like 20 different scripts, couldn't come up with anything. And I think a lot of people would have been like, you should still make a comment. Okay, but whatever. Okay, I'll let it slide. Because I think she's built up, again, enough of a goodwill with so many viewers that a lot of people want to defend her. So if they see a comment like that from her, a lot of people would have been like, you should have said this sooner. You should have just like promoted some fundraisers, but whatever, I'll move on. I don't want to be mad. I like your content. I want to continue to support your content. It's okay. Everybody makes mistakes sometimes. To post this is like crazy. It's like, I just like don't have any words.
Atmosphere are simply hysterical or hallucinating. If you are Jewish and you feel isolated because a Jewish supremacist state is carrying out genocide, that can only be because you feel some sort of attachment to that state. And if you feel some sort of attachment to that state, that can only be because you feel some sort of innate ethnic ties to it and its project. You feel ethnic solidarity with other Jews on an ethnic basis. You have what are fundamentally fascist, race scientist politics. And in general, if you are a Zionist and you feel unsafe,
just to elaborate a little bit more. Concur, when I first saw Mike bring it up, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. Yep. I think it's a normal experience that if you like a specific content creator, if you like a specific streamer, a YouTuber, whatever, and you feel like they've mostly done good and you've tried to make the internet a better place or the real world a better place, you're going to give them like a couple olive branches. You'll give them a couple tries. You'll be like, come on, you can get to the right take eventually. Come on, please. And now it's like, okay, it's just the entire thing. There's like all of it. Like literally all of it is bad. At first I just thought she didn't care. Yeah, because I just figured Contrapoints' opinion was like, it was too big of an idea, if that makes sense. Like, let me see if I can explain it better by pulling up her old videos. Like here's a video on her on like talking about conspiracy theories, the video that she made on Twilight, the video that she made on J.K. Rowling. I don't think I ever watched this one. The Envy video, a different J.K. Rowling video, this cringe video, voting, shame. Like these are all very, very, very like small ideas. And even these small ideas, she's making them into like 1 hour, 2 hour long documentaries, right? So I imagine when you're trying to talk, when you have a specific format in mind, right? And you can talk about these small concepts or these small ideas for a long period of time because there's just so much to talk about. An idea about like the entirety of the history of Israel and Palestine and genocide, that would end up being like, I can imagine you sitting there and writing that as someone who makes these videos be fucking 2 hours long and be like, dude, this is like a 10-hour long video. This is actually like going to be a fucking 10-hour long video. This is too hard to talk about. This is too hard to make a compelling video for. And also, again, I don't even know how to reach the pro-genocidal freaks. Like I don't know what order of words you need to tell them to say, hey, genocide is bad. Yes, even when it's against brown people. Like, I really don't know what specific words you're supposed to use. Moving on, my entire point was I think a lot of people were down for her just being uninformed or like not caring enough about this topic or like having her own shit or like smaller ideas that she wants to talk about. And so that's why they figured, or just that she's uninformed. Because like Brittany Broski was one example of this, where it was just like, girl, what are you saying? Girl, stop. And then she stopped. She was like, okay, I'm good. I'm done. And then she just stopped talking about it altogether, which in my opinion was the correct decision. So anyways, moving on.
Or harassed or whatever other negative sounding therapy speak term that's being weaponized this week in order to justify the most abhorrent white people shit imaginable. Good. You support a genocidal ethno-nationalist project. I'm glad you're at least being made to feel slightly vulnerable as a result of that. Yes, there's communal trauma and hypervigilance. Yes, there's disingenuous right-wing ghouls dismissing and censoring all criticism of Israel on the pretext of fighting anti-Semitism. But there's also a valid fear of historical anti-Semitic patterns recurring, and that only gives power to the right-wing Zionist claim that only Israel can keep Jews safe. Historical patterns of anti-Semitism, as in tropes, conspiracies, are reoccurring. But not against Jews, against Palestinians are actually being used, ironically, by Zionist Jews and their allies to do this, to enable this genocide. Why are you talking about, like, supposed anti-Semitism against Zionists carrying out a genocide and how this might make them feel unsafe, and not that, which is way more impactful? You know, I have a whole video on this. You don't seem to be concerned with this at all, though. You seem to be concerned way more with the feelings of the people doing the fucking genocide and how they feel unsafe and victimized. Does this mean Israel should not be criticized and sanctioned? Absolutely not. I always find it revealing when people talk about how it's permissible to criticize Israel, because that terminology carries the implication that Israel is something that is merely flawed, that is worth salvaging or that can be salvaged. All we gotta do is point out its problems and engage in good faith criticism so that the Israelis can work to fix them. But let's imagine merely talking about critiquing Nazi Germany, as if it was possible for it to be merely reformed into something more acceptable. Zionism is an innately unacceptable project. You don't merely critique it, you denounce it, and you do what you can to work towards its non-existence. But it's something I don't want to risk contributing to, if not outweighed by tangible benefits, so I approach the issue cautiously. So the reason you don't talk about Gaza is just in case you contribute to anti-Semitism? This is no different to not talking about the Holocaust just in case you accidentally contribute to anti-German sentiment. What a crock of shit. Bitterness. Much of the online left spent all of 2024 single-mindedly focused on Palestine and the complicity of democratic politicians in sending aid to Israel. No, that is whitewashing. They did not merely send aid to Israel. They are part and parcel to this. They are in control of Israel. They can make Israel stop whenever they want. Israel is carrying out actions that they believe assist in their geopolitical goals in the Middle East. That's why they are supporting it. You are just lying here. This campaign had the following effects. 0 Palestinian lives were saved. Not one fewer bomb or bullet was fired by the IDF. What a disgusting joke of a person you are, Natalie. It may have
Dude, BadEmpanada. We are all BadEmpanada.
Slightly contributed to the re-election of Trump, guaranteeing that the US will put no diplomatic pressure on Netanyahu for at least 4 years, and making protests against Israel both much riskier and less effective. You're just lying. Joe Biden, who you supported, never put any pressure on Israel. Israel was totally unleashed during his term. If Israel has advanced to genocide more now, the reason why it's doing that is just because time has passed, not because of any meaningful difference in the different presidents' approach to the issue. Biden regime officials have literally come out and bragged about this. They're not exactly hiding it. They didn't put pressure on Israel, and they think it's good that they didn't. On top of that, the majority of the dead in Gaza died during Biden's presidency. You just can't help but lie, can you? Trump is also, incidentally, a menace to me and basically everyone I care about. A perfectly enlightened being would feel no bitterness about this, but I do. You. That's all you ever fucking cared about, isn't it? And if Trump is a menace to you and other Americans, then good, because just like Biden did, he's doing way worse to the rest of the world. But at least the fact that he is taking actions against you that Biden wasn't might spur Americans into actually doing something to inconvenience the US government. Because them just massacring hundreds of thousands of people sure didn't. That you say this now shows very plainly that you are mostly okay with what your country does to others, as long as things stay comfy for you at home. Trump makes things uncomfy. Now there's a problem. None of this is the fault of Palestinians, of course, who are overwhelmingly the victims here. I hope that someday American policy will shift in their favor, and I will continue to support that cause. This message makes it clear that you do not support that cause at all. Like, what do you support? Sitting there and hoping? Just fucking hoping? Thoughts and prayers? What you are seeing now is Zionism in both theory and practice. It's the logical end of its prescriptions. This is where it was always going to go. Like, do you have a brain? Can you put 2 and 2 together and think about the obvious implications of what it means to seek a state for only one ethnicity in a place with millions of people who are not of that ethnicity? What the fuck do you think Nazism was, if not exactly that? Just in its own different set of circumstances. How do you possibly look at this and not see the exact same thing as every other ethno-supremacist project, as every other ethno-nationalist ideology in history? Like the white supremacist ones that you've made 15 videos pretending to be against, remember those? I would think that it's because you know nothing about history, or really anything remotely related to the real world at all, as your videos deal purely in abstract, pseudo-intellectual uselessness. They are designed to posture as an intellectual rather than be one, with all of the real world responsibilities that such a role really entails. Contrapoints loved leftism, she loved talking about it, she loved posturing as a leftist, when it was to her little more than a subcultural thing, a virtue signal that could be discussed purely in the abstract. But now, people with a Nazi-like ideology are carrying out a real-life, overt, Nazi-like eliminationist campaign against an entire people. It's time to actually put the abstract into practice. It's time to put theory into practice and punch the Nazis, so to speak. But instead, what is she talking about? How much we need to cherish and respect them when their feelings are hurt because we post too many photos of the dead babies that their ideology is killing, and how we need to broaden our coalition to include the decent Nazis. Quite a disconnect from theory to practice, huh? But the thing here is, this is not at all the result of mere incompetence or stupidity on her part. This is not just her misanalyzing the situation. It's not her not understanding the facts enough and making an honest mistake based on incomplete information that she could be educated on and that she would then rectify. This is not a failure of her to see the ethnic supremacism inherent to Zionism. It's not her not seeing that it shares the same ideological traits of the Nazism that she has made many videos denouncing. It's actually just that she believes in it. It's actually just that she is a Zionist. It's actually just that she's a Jewish supremacist. What makes this abundantly clear is the substance of this statement. It is her angry about the fact that people talk about Gaza at all, and especially angry at the fact that they want her to talk about it. In her statement, she's not even complaining about actual real action. She's rather complaining about speech, and speech on the internet at that. She's angry that people are even hearing about what the USA and Israel are doing to these people. She's concerned way less with the pictures shared by massacred Palestinians pleading for help as they are being strangled to death than she is with the fact that people are seeing them. She expresses infinitely more worry in this statement about how those Palestinians pleading for help as they are fucking killed might offend the sensibilities of the impossibly privileged and coddled Jewish supremacists who are killing them than she ever has for their victims. Sure, human beings are being slaughtered in a genocide by the Jewish supremacist Zionist project. But what about how some shut-ins on X, the Everything app, are being anti-Semitic? How is it not an equal or more important issue that Groiper Hitler keeps saying Zog? What Contrapoints is saying here is the same liberal Zionist claptrap as always. That's why I think it's written by AI, at least partially. Center Zionist feelings, not the people being massacred by Zionists. This sort of conclusion can only ever be formed by a racist Jewish supremacist. And if your excuse is some variation of, but Jews are special, it's different for them, they can do things that others can't. You don't believe that, obviously. You don't think that just because Palestinians have been made into a historically oppressed group by these Zionists, that it's okay for them to go and eliminate them and form their own Palestinian ethno-state, do you? But you think that for Jews, it's clearly not based on circumstance, it's based on a belief in an ethnic supremacy, a belief in special ethnic rights. So I'm honestly flabbergasted that you can make arguments like, oh, but look, Jews are special in some or some other way. It's different for them. Thus, they can do things that others can't. And you can say that without realizing that you're just proving my point even further. You either apply the same standard to all groups, or you think certain groups are special and allowed to violate those standards. And Contrapoints does think that. Obviously, given that she thinks you can be a Zionist and
I'm trying to find a moment of pause to comment, but he's just fucking spitting so hard, there's nothing to add.
innately genocidal ethno-nationalist Jewish supremacist ideology, and also be a decent person that should be included in a leftist coalition, She's a Jewish supremacist. She and the not insignificant number of people who are like her definitely know this. They're just too afraid to fucking say it. And that is a great example, by the way, of what I talked about of the different circumstances between Nazism and Zionism. There's no real ideological difference, no real difference in the end goals, just in the circumstance. She feels that she cannot express her real beliefs openly, so she clouds them behind what she seems to think is enough layers of plausible deniability. But it's actually really fucking easy to see through. Funnily enough, that Zionists like her feel that they
Which,
have
like, I think the craziest thing about it was that she thought it would work. That she thought if she said, like, do I think genocide is bad? Of course. Do I think Israel is doing one? Of course. Now that, you know, it's safe to say that. Yeah, of course. So now that I did that, can we just let them do it anyways? I already said what you guys wanted me to say. So, like, can we move on? Because I feel like you guys are being a little mean to Israel. I think you're being a little mean to them. But wait, why are you guys mad? I said it's bad. Wait, but I already said it's bad. Why are you guys so mad at me? I didn't even say anything wrong. It's like,
do this is actually an example.
And I saw someone else post on Twitter, like, we've now entered the stage of, like, Zionists just openly admitting that they're Zionists, but thinking that saying that genocide is bad is enough.
The fact that what me and many other anti-Zionists are doing is working. Contrary.
Also, yeah, the line that pissed me off the most was leftists always choose doomed causes, like, you coward. I mean, there were a lot of things in there that pissed me off a lot. That one was lower on the list, but that one's also fucking stupid because also historically not true. Historically, the progressive movement has won time and time and time and time and time again. Yeah, well, you know, gay people are never going to have rights and they never should have rights. And this is a doomed cause. And I don't understand why they even need to get married. Like, they don't even need it. Like, it doesn't even matter. You guys are picking a doomed cause. Wrong. Well, I don't even know why women need to be able to work and have their own money and have their own car and own property. This is a doomed cause. Women are happier at home. Wrong. You could just keep going back down the list. Just go on every major social issue and you'll find that, guess what? Surprise, surprise, the leftist position has been based. And guess what? Guess what? It's the conservative movement that's been a doomed cause. Also, like, I'm sorry, doomerism is something that every single Fox News host wants Americans to succumb to. And with that, because of that principle alone, because of that statement alone, because of that reality alone, I shall never succumb to doomerism. I shall never. I am making it my life goal. It is a promise to everyone in here, and you should all promise it to yourselves, that you will not give up. That the moment you embrace doomerism, that you say, well, it's a doomed cause anyways, you've given every single ghoulish, genocidal freak exactly what they want. Also, as Mike says, doomerism is the final stage of your liberalism holding you back.
To what she's saying, the fact that she is so utterly fucking terrified of expressing her real beliefs shows that we are winning in at least some way. We are changing things way more than Contrapoints ever had, that is for certain. Her aim is to keep things how they are, genocide and all, and not change them. It really is that simple. So Contrapoints is a regressive force for evil. She is actively attempting to normalize and solidify a genocidal ethno-nationalist ideology. She's essentially doing entryism for Zionists into leftism, by advocating for them being included and for them being decent people. She is attempting to ensure that the precarious position that Israel holds becomes more solidified in the future. She needs to stop us from correctly identifying what the problem is, Zionism, and who its adherents are, and she wants to convince people that they should accept Zionism in some form or another rather than fight it, because she wants it to continue and prosper. In short, Natalie Wynn is a Nazi. I say that 100% seriously, it's not hyperbole. She is a Nazi. A Nazi, but for Jews, is a Nazi nonetheless. It's incredibly funny, by the way, that Contrapoints talks about how leftists achieve nothing. They apparently have totally inactionable goals, when she is the poster child for achieving absolutely nothing. Well, aside from
Dude, I need to find a way to be as brave as BadEmpanada's with all of his positions.
fattening her bank account, of course. Despite her connections and proximity to the most powerful people in American politics, despite her being profiled constantly in the mainstream imperialist media, being framed as some sort of de-radicalizing force, which has given her capacity to have actual, real, direct levels of influence on formal American politics that most can only dream of, her own political project has, throughout her career, solely failed spectacularly, which is quite an impressive feat, quite an impressive level of incompetence, given that her own goals are incredibly unambitious, incredibly incredibly easy and simple to achieve. She does not seek change. She rather just wants to maintain one side of the status quo, the Democrats in the USA. She wants to keep them in power so they can ensure her own personal rights are protected as a white American trans woman. Everything else she's fine with. The imperialism, the mass murder, the genocide. In fact, if anything, such endeavors by the US benefit Americans of her social class, which is why she has absolutely never expressed any opposition to them until this sort of wishy-washy, fake, anti-genocide rhetoric that she's engaging in now. The fact that anything anti-imperialist at all has always been absent from her content should have clued you into the fact that she is a fascist a very long time ago. Because it did to me. I've known this for fucking ever. The fact that many of her former fans, who now see her for what she is, never noticed this, is pretty jarring, really. I hope that they now realize, going forward, that the people who are most negatively affected by Western politics, by the actions of Western governments, and by the willful malice of people like Natalie Wynn are not residents of the West themselves. They're not actually you, but rather the billions of people who are not even within your borders. So Contrapoints' own political project has failed to achieve its absurdly simple goal of just keeping things how they were. No change, nothing ambitious.
To be clear, I do think that she's done a lot in deconstructing the negative narratives around trans people. I don't think we should erase that. Well, like I said, I think much like everything else, most people are casual enjoyers, right? The vast majority of people are casual enjoyers. I mean, even in here in this chat, there's thousands of people in here. And there's maybe a couple hundred chatters at most. Most people are lurkers. Most people are casual enjoyers. Most people maybe have watched one or two of her videos. And so you don't expect those people to be totally informed on every single political position and to be able to perfectly understand her worldview on everything, right? And just because her stance on this was so bad, it doesn't necessarily undo her positive propaganda for the trans community. With that in mind, though, it's out of all of the issues, dude, oh my fucking God. Jesus.
Nothing risky, just keep the Democrats in power so that I can be comfy. During her career, Donald fucking Trump, the biggest bumblefuck loser fascist ever, has won 2 elections. Both times against Democratic Party candidates who she championed. There are way more fascists in the USA now who are way more emboldened now than they were when she was getting started. And this woman is supposedly the Nazi whisperer, but it looks like she really failed to successfully whisper to any Nazis. Well, aside from the Zionist ones, of course, she's pretty firmly aligned with them now, isn't she? She's a complete and utter failure. Her politics are a complete and utter failure. She is living proof of the practical inviability of her own ideology, of her own prescriptions. Of the fact that if your comfort is built on the blood of billions of oppressed, then eventually your chickens are going to come home to roost. And you're going to be made to feel at least a slight fraction of the pain, of the dread, of the horror that you were indifferent to when your nation was inflicting it upon others. That there is not even a single hint of in your entire base of content. And the worst thing about this is that she's clearly seen this total failure of her ideology over the course of the last 10 years. Everything that I'm talking about, she knows all about. But she's so dumb, so unimaginative, and hides her intellectual sub-mediocrity under a veil of overproduction to such an extent that the best
God, he's clocking so hard.
Prescription that she can think of is to keep advocating for the exact same things that got her here, to the extent that she is actively deriding people who are actually trying to work towards something different that might take actual time.
And the people that you're going out of your way to defend right now, it's these people. Did you guys see these ones? If you've seen them, twos if you haven't seen them, these fucking Israel posts, these Israel subreddit posts. Thoughts on the new Superman movie? Have you all seen the new Superman movie? I find it so disrespectful and distressing that a superhero created by 2 Jewish artists is now being used to promote anti-Israeli messages to the world. The entire story of Superman is even believed to be based on the Jewish history with strong parallels to Moshe. I can't understand how this was greenlit at a time like this with global anti-Semitism on a rise. Without giving too much away about the film, there's a highly advanced fictional country, an ally of the U.S., that's attacking a defenseless neighboring people who live behind a fence in order to colonize their land. Of course, the invaders are portrayed as white, while the victims are predominantly brown. And of course, if Israel speaks out against the film, it would be seen as, well, if the shoe fits. Isn't that literally what you're saying? What the fuck? You'll never believe it. This movie happened to portray this other country as genocidal maniacs, and I, as an Israeli, sympathize with that. Hello? Hello, is this thing on? Is this thing on? Pro-Palestine will take literally any movie or anything from pop culture right now and make it about whatever message they're trying to promote. Andor is just one such example of this. I wouldn't take it to heart. They'll do this with Fantastic Four as well. Just you wait. I've seen them do it to King Caesar from Godzilla. So literally anything can be corrupted to suit the pro-Pally message.
Superman is older than Israel DNM balls.
Can you imagine being Israeli and then seeing Andor and being like, well, obviously the Empire is supposed to be an allegory for Israel. Like, you're so fried. You're so fried. What are we doing right now? Why are you sympathizing with the villains? What's going on? What? Because I understand the Israelis that are delusional. They're like, wow, we're just like the random people being oppressed by the Empire in Andor. The Empire is just like Hamas. It's like, okay, well, I guess.
Batman is older than Israel. KEKW.
I guess, like, whatever, you have no media literacy, whatever. But to watch it and then associate it with the Imperial, with the Empire, it's too crazy. It's so crazy. KEKW. Exactly. Oh my God. Hamas has Star Destroyers. Yeah. Oh, I don't need to see that shit. If I want to see a Superman, I just go to reserve duty with actual superheroes. Apparently, some other crazy shit's happening on our Contrapoints. Something I'd like to add is that, personally, I found the focus on labeling it a genocide makes it harder to build stronger coalitions. What do we do? The Marvels are gone. What? I don't need somebody to consider it a genocide, specifically to work together to stop it. I need them to consider it wrong/unjust/horrifying and worth fighting against. While I might not be happy if we disagree beyond that, I can live with it if we make meaningful change. Something I value a lot more than internal purity testing. Except the thing is, nobody's mad at Contrapoints for calling it or not calling it a genocide. She called it a genocide. People are mad at her for everything else that she said. I posted a similar comment. The label flattens discourse. It allows any means to the ends of ending genocide. What? It allows anything short of the genocide being completed as a victory, regardless if there's actually any change or future. The label doesn't change what's happening. It doesn't change how we should seek to end the conflict. Diplomacy. The only people who benefit are the extremists whose power grow from radicalization. I like how the entire past 5 years have been dominated by this one Contrapoints image, the they don't want power, this fucking meme that everybody's had to fucking deal with for the past billion gajillion years. This is on the level of that one tweet that's like, leftists be like, that pales in comparison to my strategy of firebombing a Walmart, and then don't firebomb a Walmart or whatever the fuck. And then when people light Waymos on fire, it's like, this is really disrespectful to the Waymos. It's really disrespectful to the corporations. Did you consider that? God, those two images, this image, I've hated seeing this image, and I've hated seeing the firebombing the Walmart tweet. Those two are awful. They're such bad fucking tweets. They're such bad images, such bad meme formats. Anyways, this meme image of Contrapoint saying they don't want victory, they don't want power, they want to endlessly critique power. And now, suddenly, the only people who benefit are the extremists whose power grows from radicalization. I thought you said they didn't want power. I thought you said the people on the left, the extremists, we don't want power. We just want to critique power. Which one is it? What? I remember when I watched that shit and that was the ending sentiment. I rolled my eyes so hard they fell out. Yeah. She has to be a Democratic Party op. Yeah. Also says a bread tuber. Oh, yeah, it's so cringe, dude. So fucking cringe. What was I saying? What were we on? Yeah, this is fucking stupid. Just so. Also, I'm sorry. You really think you know better than the ICC? Where do these people get the ego? Where do people get the ego that they think that they're smarter and better educated than every single person who participated in the ruling that Israel? It is reasonable to assume that Israel is attempting to conduct a genocide. Huh? Let me pull it up. Mayor Cat. Do you want to come here? Mayor Cat! He's walking off. Maybe he's hungry. Oh wait, he's just sitting here. Meow. I'm trying to find where is it? I'm trying to find the hold. Here we go. Wait. Yes. In this post, we aim to explore the potential implications of the ICJ's findings that genocide in Gaza is plausible for the ICC's own investigation of the situation in Palestine. And then first we need to examine what extent the plausibility test applied by the ICJ resembles the reasonable grounds standard used by the ICC to issue arrest warrants, because there's currently arrest warrants out for Bibi and Yoav Gallant. Like, at what point do you think you know better than the people who are a part of the ICC or ICJ who have found that it is reasonable and plausible that Israel is conducting a genocide? And you're like, well, I feel like guys were really getting caught up in like the wording. And if we did impurity test and call this a genocide, maybe we'd have more people on our side. I like want to take a giant cinder block and just like break it in half on my forehead. It's so brutal. So brutal, dude. All right, let's finish this Bad Empanada video. Because after this Bad Empanada video, I kind of, since we have the time to, I kind of wanted to take a little peek, because there have been, I didn't get a chance to watch it, and I know a lot of people maybe have seen a little bit of it, but Adam McIntyre on the ice showing up, trying to get him deported. We'll watch it in a little bit. Contrapoints is basically saying in the 1940s that if they just wouldn't have called Auschwitz a genocide, then they would have been defeated earlier. Yeah, it's stupid. It fucking...
Effort
Well,
and
that's what the Contrapoints fans are saying.
sacrifice to achieve. Especially that last part bothers her. She would never. For someone like her, who is such an abject failure of a human being in every aspect, particularly intellectually and morally, to lecture others and what the acceptable and achievable bounds of politics are and should be, to tell them they need to give up and accept the decent Nazis who are presently massacring dozens of tiny little children every fucking day, is so disgusting. You are a Nazi, Natalie Wynn. The tides are turning and you will rightfully be swept away. The comfort that you have now will not last. Your viewer base will dwindle as the appetite for the sort of tripe that you make and the views that you espouse evaporates, and you are far too lazy to adapt. We will extend you as much empathy during your downfall as you did to the little babies massacred by the decent ideology of Zionism. I'd just like to say, hi Natalie, how you doing? For when I appear in 3 years' time, when you finally finish your next video, whining about the pushback you got for this, probably titled something like, I was cancelled for the 5th fucking time. By the way, what do you even do with your time? You literally make one video a year. This woman is not working. As a YouTuber, I can tell you that 100%. She doesn't work. I know how much work this stuff takes. Even with all the costumes and the scene setup and the editing, definitely does not take a year to make per video. It would be 2 or 3 months per video at most if she's working a normal 40-hour work week. And that's if she was doing it all alone. I could start and finish a video with the same level of work on the scripting and research side of things as what goes into her videos in a week or 2. And I don't have employees like she does. She's just not working. She's doing 2-hour work weeks on your Patreon dime while posting about the importance of Zionist feelings as Zionists commit genocide. I just want to make sure that all of you know that.
No notes.